Thank you, Cian. This is my first time to address the Chamber and just briefly to thank the people of my constituency, Dublin Bay South, for electing me to represent them, and I hope to do so to the best of my ability. It will be 20 years next month since Veronica Gearan was taken from us, leaving behind a young son and a grieving husband. Her relentless pursuit of the truth and her commitment to exposing the dark underbelly of gangland crime in Ireland resulted in her paying the ultimate price. Clearly, crime pays handsomely, and the people profiting from the destruction of lives, families and communities are the merchants of death that our Gardaí remain committed to putting out of business. We need to go to the root of what fuels drug crime, stop it from being a profitable practice and a lifestyle to aspire to. One only has to glance at the paper to see the lavish existence the kingpins lead: houses in Spain, luxury cars and expensive jewellery. In just one morning in March this year, armed Gardaí, supported by Revenue and the Criminal Assets Bureau, swooped on the Kinahan cartel and seized over 30,000 in cash and 35 high-end vehicles from 18 separate locations. Seeing Christy Kinahan lounging on a lilo on the Sunday Times at the weekend, he did not look like a man too concerned with how much such a raid affected his finances. A mere drop in the ocean of blood money, blood spilled on our streets all too frequently. So many lives have been lost to the scourge of drugs and the blight of gangland crime. We need to open our eyes to the human cost of a prolific drug culture. People have used drugs since the dawn of time. We are not going to stop that. If the aim is to reduce the demand for drugs and to prevent people from taking drugs in the first place, we will fail. What we can do for those, usually families, caught up in a hopeless cycle of drug use, to assist them to get out of their situation and to break the cycle of drug abuse. As any of our elected members who have dealt with heroin users will note, a strong family link and geographical consistency. I worked in methadone provision as a graduate in the Midland towns that have been ravaged by drug use. Now in Dublin, I see the same patterns that I saw then, over a decade ago, except now more concentrated and more desperate cases. Oops. When you work in a community, you see children grow up in front of you. You see the impact of poor resourcing of social workers, trying and challenging communities, and the effects of social neglect has on the development of these children. In many cases, you can see why they would turn to crime as a way of life and as a means to earn large sums of money. By properly investing in the education of our young people brought up in disadvantaged areas, we can positively influence the outcomes for these children. It is our responsibility as citizens and as legislators to step into the breach left by parents who are caught up in drug use and to rescue these children from the grasp of organised crime. This is our duty, to make it unacceptable for drug crime to ravage our communities, to help those suffering from drug addiction and to enable their children to escape the environment that is so limiting their potential. There were over 15,000 recorded controlled drug offences in this state last year. Of that, a mere 20 were charged with the importation of drugs. Almost 11,000 of those offences were for the possession for personal use. When you see the massive drug hauls on the news, you have to think there is a serious market at play here, and the demands do not appear to be waning. No wonder Christie is kicking back on his lilo. I doubt he's worried about the trauma suffered by the Garda Síochána who attend the aftermath of yet another brutal shooting in the capital. It is unlikely he considers the post-traumatic stress of a community pharmacist or their staff held at syringe point by a desperate addict who is so strung out that they will risk their own lives and others to get their fix. Or those affected by the brutal attacks, the taxi drivers trying to earn a living when they're robbed by a lad wielding a knife to their neck. A very, very traumatic experience to go through in your place of work. The people in caring professions, the nurses and the doctors in our A&Es and social workers who face the daily challenges dealing with the fallout from drug use. They are the forgotten victims of such crimes. To move on from the ravages of drug crime, I want to address the movement of immigrants into our country. We need to welcome and not isolate the people who seek refuge or work on our shores. Integration into our culture is crucial for the fabric of our society as a whole. And we need to respect and recognise their way of doing things and their culture too. If you look at other countries within the EU that have failed to recognise this, you can see what damage it does to the unity and the prosperity of a country. One cannot ignore the horrendously disadvantaged ghettos in Brussels and the areas of extreme deprivation in some cities, full of disaffected young people. They are being raised in a country they now call home, but feel no connection with, in countries where they can only blame the establishment for their plight. We must act to combat this in our nation. Failure to accommodate and integrate will only, in the long run, isolate. I want to, in conclusion, pay tribute to the Garda Síochána for the outstanding work that they do in their service to our state, and to condemn and shame, well, none of them are present, but those that should be present, who have been involved in protest groups that have treated our Gardaí with disrespect. I wish to acknowledge the low morale within the Garda Síochána due to cutbacks, the unfortunate closure of Temple Moor due to the financial constraints in this country, and the challenges facing the force, in particular for new graduates coming out on low wages. Anyone that has regular contact with the Gardaí know the commitment and dedication they have to their service and to the state and service of this state. I would like to close by acknowledging this service. Thank you.